and the reality of 2025 just got started. How was yesterday for you? How is today? Planning is very important. Not planning at all is planning to fail. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and this is Global Morning on Global Television. It's good to have you. It's going to be a smooth ride from now until 10 o'clock. And remember that on Global Morning, we bring you to speed with the latest information, education, and of course entertainment, as it has to do with the major headlines from the national dailies. Then remember that we also have two major conversations on Global Morning today, and I will have experts joining me on the conversation table as we talk about politics, news, and current affairs today. Well, it's good to start your day on this beautiful note. There is a good news. What's the good news all about? Number one good news is the fact that things will get better in 2025, just like the president said during his broadcast. I'm so sure that all hands are on deck to make 2025 better than 2024. 2024 has come and gone. It is history. Yesterday is history, and today is the day and the time that you have everything it takes to work for tomorrow, which is the future. So now the Warri Refinery is back to life. Port Harcourt Refinery back to life. Dangote Refinery live and kicking. So what do you expect? I think products need to be affordable now. What price do you think it should be pegged at? How much should petroleum products be sold? All right. The PMS, very important. Fuel is one thing that has impact on almost everything that we do as a people and as a nation. So if the price of fuel is affordable, it will go a long way helping Nigerians to do so much. Why did I say they will do so much? Because people are looking forward to the time that they can get out of their rooms and transport goods from one location to the other without having to break a bank. And apart from that, Nigerians are actually looking forward to that time when they can go to the market, get food items, and they can come back home and say, yes, for this month, I am able to get food that will sustain me and my family. How much should that cost? At least with 20,000, with 30,000, you should be able to feed a family of two, probably. Because as it is right now, even one person, 30,000 naira cannot feed one person for, am I talking about a month? What about a week or 2 weeks? Looking at the price of commodities, products in the marketplace, it's so amazing that if you go to the market today and you return, if you get back again, the price of anything you bought the previous day must have increased either by 5%, 10%, 20%, 50%, some as much as 100%. That's how it has been. But Nigerians are very strong people. I will have to say this. I just need to say this, that Nigerians are very resilient. They are very strong people, hardworking, and the government is trying everything to make sure things go the way Nigerians will want it. Social amenities. I think we know things are hard, but then this administration is actually trying their best. You can see the aspect of road infrastructure. We have some things. I think 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, we should have something to point to say after everything we've been through, this is where we are. This is what we have achieved as a nation. These are the investments that we can boast of. This is where our economy was in 2023. This is where it was in 2024. And now it is 2025. Thank God. This is where God has taken the economy of the nation, because the economy of the nation is going to pick up. We know that it is a challenging moment for the economy, but then we know, like the president will always say, there will be light at the end of the tunnel. So what we should be thinking about in 2025 is more of governance and not politicking, because someone will say any political office holder, the first day the person gets into office, that is the day they will start planning for the next election. But then we shouldn't allow planning for the next election, how to sustain or retain certain position, take the place of proper governance, because Nigerians are waiting for the manifestation of those in political offices, such that everyone, at least the average Nigerian, I'm so particular about the average Nigerians, so that the average Nigerians can be proud being a Nigerian. Politicians are trying. It's not easy. To be a leader, it's not easy. And that's the reason I'll tell people, leadership is servanthood, all right? Except a leader know that leadership is servanthood, and except the servants know that leading, it's not a day's job, it's not a boy's job, okay? It's not for a child, it's not a child's play. At that point, everyone will put all hands on deck to work for economic development, to work for social development, to work for societal growth. It is Global Morning, and I want to go on a quick break. We are going on a quick break, all of us, so that we can return and look at the pages of the newspaper. What are the papers saying? Yesterday is gone. Today we need to stay abreast of everything happening. Why? Because you deserve to know what's going on around you, and that's the reason I am here this morning. So let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return and we'll look at the pages of the newspaper to see what the headlines are today. Now to the headlines for the day. What are the papers saying on this beautiful second day of January 2025? Well, so many headlines today on the national dailies. Let me begin with the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper this morning, I have some very important headlines. And I'll begin from the big one. That's the major story, the star story of the Punch newspaper. The star story says new refineries. That's the kicker of the story. NNPCL may cut crude supply to Dangote plant. NNPCL may cut crude supply to Dangote plant. One writer to that story, and the writer says, move part of federal government's adjustment of Naira for crude initiative after renovation of Warri Port Harcourt refineries. It's a move part of federal government's adjustment of Naira for crude initiative after renovation of Warri and Port Harcourt refineries. It's a good news for me. I was talking about it earlier before the show got started, that now we have the Port Harcourt refinery working, we have Warri refinery working, then we have Dangote refinery working. Why should we be scared of fuel scarcity anymore? Not just fuel scarcity, but then the availability of the fuel, it's one. Then the affordability. Availability and affordability. These are two different things that play a vital role as far as this information, this detail, this good news is concerned. I think what should be happening now, it's so good that the marketers came up to say, well, there must be reduction, there should and there would be a reduction in price, all right? If the Port Harcourt refinery, the Warri refinery and Dangote refinery are working, if everything is working, we just pray that some of those people who are very interested, they are so interested in exploiting Nigerians, may these people not go and do anything so that Nigerians for once can wake up and be proud of this country. If these things can work, it doesn't matter whether the production is maybe minimal for now. It's just picking up. Maybe the number, the liter that we get right now may not be as much as we want, but then at least that there is production at all. There is product from Warri and Port Harcourt refinery additional to Dangote refinery. It's a welcome development, and I think that's good to know. So the details of that story you can get on page 21 of the Punch newspaper. And above the masthead, we have this one. The kicker says, Lakurawa, Nigeria, Niger joint operation continue amid diplomatic row. Nigeria, Niger joint operations continue amid diplomatic row. Well, what's happening between Nigeria and Niger Republic? I don't think it's something to be worried about, because these are neighbors, and these are countries that have had a very good relationship for a very long time. Whether Niger is pulling out of ECOWAS or not, well, for the fact that we still share border, our people live there, Nigerians live in Niger, citizens live in Nigeria, and there was this relationship. They might be intermarriage even, so the relationship is still there. I don't see any reason why anyone should think that Nigeria will in any way, all right, want to do anything that will affect Niger Republic negatively, as it has to do with terrorism. Nigeria as a country is even facing so much. So why would Nigeria have the time to even go think about doing anything that would contribute or maybe affects the borders of Niger Republic, as it has to do with terrorism? Well, I think it's so good that the joint operation is still on. Then this one says Tinubu's tax reform will destroy Nigeria's unity. Kano governor is the one saying that, and details of that story you can find on page 27. Focus on security, strengthening Naira. Experts tell Tinubu. Okay, focus on security, strengthening Naira. Experts talking to Tinubu. Well, I will keep saying it. Every criticism is either to make or to mar. So it depends, and it is left to the person who is being criticized to know how to filter this criticism, to whom statements are being made. Not even all the statements being made to this administration that is criticism. Some are statements, some are recommendations, some are suggestions, some are statements, some are criticism. But as it is, what I think that Nigerians are also thinking is that whatever that will contribute to nation building, economic development, this administration should pick out of whatever statement, suggestion or criticism anyone is melting at them. Now to the next story. Naira defies CBN reform, tumbled 41% in 2024. Details on page 22. And now to other stories on the Punch newspaper. Shettima, governor's wives welcome New Year babies. Well, that's good. Congratulations to all those that gave birth on the 1st of January 2025. This is what happens. The federal government, the same thing happened in some states of the federation, where the new babies, the newborns, were being celebrated by wives of either state governors, like the wife of the vice president is doing now, that we are seeing on the Punch newspaper. Congratulations to the mothers of these babies. Now to other stories on the Punch newspaper. This one says, Super Eagles goalkeeper Nwabali loses mom 2 months after father's death. That's a sad one. The father died 2 months ago, and now it is the mom. That's the Nigerian Super Eagles goalkeeper Nwabali, who plies his trade with Chipas United in South Africa. May the soul of his mother rest in peace, and accept our condolence, Nwabali. This one will pass too. 133 women, girls killed in 2024 gender-related violence. That's the report coming. We pray we don't want to have the same report in 2025. Finally, from the Punch newspaper this morning, 9 banks rake in 4.8 trillion naira on loan charges. That is massive. 4.8 trillion naira on loan charges. 9 banks rake in 4.8 trillion naira on loan charges. That's to say a lot of people took loans in 2024. And that's to tell you of how hungry people are. And loans. I don't want to talk about this, but then maybe one day we'll have an expert in the studio to talk about the issue of hidden charges that come with these loans, with transactions from the financial institutions. We'll get to look at that. So many things happening. You get to the bank and you'll be told your account is not active, that your account is not active. Why? And you've been sending money into this account. They'll tell you you were sending money in, but you were not withdrawing. And some people are not even aware, because if you have a saving account, what Nigerians believe is saving account is just for you to put in money there to do a saving, so that at the end of the year you can go pick up the money, like people do with the, is it Susu they call it, this local banking, where they just get a pigeonhole, put money inside, and at the end of the year they break it up. But then there are so many things that Nigerians need to be informed about. Orientation is very important. If you want to take a loan, make sure you know the hidden charges, know everything that comes with the loan before you take it. But sometimes when Nigerians are really pressed to the wall, they don't even read. Nigerians don't read instructions. They'll just take the I agree. They don't read what's there, agreements, statements, rules, guidelines. They don't read all the time, just for a few. What they do is just go back, just go down, scroll down to where you see I agree, and they just tick it and get ahead. But then sometimes you see people crying of hidden charges. These charges are not really hidden, but because attention was not given to details, these things get to haunt us when it's time to pay back. So it's necessary for the banks to do orientation, send SMS to people whose accounts are about to get dormant, people who don't know things about transactions. If there is a new development from the Central Bank of Nigeria, you need to let your customers know. That will go a long way, helping them do a better banking with you. All right, having said that, that's the size of the headlines from the Punch newspaper. Over to the Daily Times newspaper, which I will also take right here. From the Daily Times newspaper this morning, this one says, First Lady Oluremi Tinubu welcomes first baby in 2025, like we saw the Vice President's wife did in the previous paper, the Punch newspaper. Something, like I said, it happened in some states of the Federation, and not just the wife of the Vice President, but then some state governors, some local government chairmen's wives. It's common with women. All right, it's common with women. That's one thing that women do every year. And some of these children, luckily, maybe their hospital charges, their delivery charges may be paid. For some, maybe clothing, one gift or the other, for children who are born on the first day of January every year. These things happens every year. Maybe you've not been lucky to give birth on the 1st of January, and you may not be aware, but these are part of the things that people in governance do. So we need to give them kudos for doing that. Now to the star story on the Daily Times newspaper this morning. President Tinubu to governors, that's the kicker. Key to Nigeria's development lies with you. I think I like this. Key, all right? Key to Nigeria's development lies with you. That's governor. The development of Nigeria should not just be left in the hands of maybe some people feel the president is the all and all. So if the president doesn't do this, it will be left undone. But the president this morning on the Daily Times newspaper is saying to all governors, all the 36 state governors, plus the minister of FCT, every one of them, he's saying the key to Nigeria's development lies with you. So you have a major role to play. But then how many governors are even doing what they need to do? Some of them, I don't want to mention the name of the state, but there's a state governor that's always in the FCT. You can't go check for him back in his state, and he's there anytime, any day. Anytime you go look for him, he's somewhere at the FCT, not minding what is going on back at home. That's not the best. The key to the development of your state. The truth is that statement makes a lot of sense to me and to Nigerians, and this is the reason why. If we talk about development, if the state governors, all right, develop all the states in Nigeria, sometimes you hear that, hey, this is the best governor in 2024. The governor of this state, the governor of that state, because of infrastructural development, because of social amenity, because of the way they have developed their states. If every state of Nigeria is being developed, all right, if we have good road, good health facilities, good school, good education at the state level, that's all we need. So it's not out of place for the president to tell the state governors that the key to the development of the nation lies in their hands. That's a very heavy statement. And remember, the president have said to ministers sometimes back, people in his cabinet, go on television, go on national television, tell the people what is this you're doing, what it is you're doing. Let Nigerians feel you. Let them know that you are really doing the right thing. And shortly after then, some ministers were actually shown the way out. I think in 2025, let's see the minister that will be shown the way out. I could remember some persons came on my program and they talked about the fact that the minister of power, especially, they should touchlight that ministry because of the issues we had with power. Back then, the collapse of the grid, the non-availability of power, businesses folding up because of power and the high cost of fuel and all of that. And I think the power sector is picking up. All right, gradually it's picking up. Let's see how 2025 is going to go. We're right in there. Okay, we're here already. So it's not a story anymore. Let's see what will happen in 2025. Now to other headlines on the Daily Times newspaper. Tinubu unveils credit guarantee plan budget provisions, highlight investors' confidence. This one says Nigeria's economy turning the corner, sustained growth ahead. Vice President Kashim Shettima is the one saying that. Federal government assures debt payment with budget provisions, highlight investors. Federal government assures debt payment with budget provisions as they highlight investors. Proposed tax reforms to benefit over 90% of Nigerian workers, says Oyedele. All right, there was a committee set up and they came up with this proposal. They came up with this tax reform proposal. The tax reform bill and all of that was sent to the National Assembly. It was a proposal by a committee. And now there is this saying that this proposed tax reform will benefit over 90% of Nigerian workers. If we're talking about workers, what about people who are self-employed, entrepreneurs? The truth is this. I think we need to get to a time where we become a manufacturing nation, a producing nation, encouraging entrepreneurship so that people can rely not too much on the government jobs, the federal government, the civil service and all of that. We don't need to depend on them, all right, to an extent, not too much, even though we know it is necessary to have that workforce to work and make things work in Nigeria, because everything is work. But what about the entrepreneur? The small business owners, how are they faring with the payment of taxes, with power supply, enabling environment for them to thrive? These are very important things, apart from the fact that if the tax is being implemented, the tax reform is being implemented, it's going to help 90% of workers. But what about entrepreneurs? We should also look at that. And more headlines still coming from the Daily Times newspaper this morning. Finally, before I move from the Daily Times, President Tinubu received autographed glove from boxing legend Anthony Joshua in Lagos State over the weekend. I saw when he was in his hometown. I was wondering, how would he be speaking English? Does he really understand Yoruba? But this is it. To be patriotic is very important. This is someone who has made enough money, who has put the name of Nigeria on the international map, on the world map, as the case may be, as a boxer. Talking about Anthony Joshua. And during festive period like this, he had to travel all the way to his village. All right, having known his village is even something very important. That's how to be patriotic. And he also visited the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is good to encourage youth especially, so that they can develop their skills in technology, in sport, in different areas, in ICT, you know, in entrepreneurship and everything that will move the nation forward. And that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Daily Times newspaper this morning. Up next is the Daily Trust newspaper, and on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, I have some stories making round. This one says President's New Year's speech not in tandem with reality. PDP and TUC. Flooding inflation orders define agri sector in 2024. This one says expect more dividends of democracy this year. Governors, you see what I'm talking about? You know, the last paper, this day newspaper, the president said the key to develop Nigeria, the key to develop Nigeria is in the hands of the governors. Then on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, the governors are saying, experts expect more dividends of democracy this year, that is 2025. So much. I think I am seeing a lot of good things coming out of this administration in 2025. Let's assume 2024 is the toothing period. All right, we're trying to grow the teeth, the milk teeth period. Now the teeth is beginning to grow in 2025, and this assurance, I know a lot of people hear governors talk and political office holders talk, and they feel, hey, that's what they keep saying year to year. This is what they say. But then 2025 seems, I feel it's going to be different. And Nigerians, as a matter of fact, are expecting so much. If the governors are saying we'll get more dividends of democracy this year, and the president in his own part have said, governors, in case you don't know, the key to the development of Nigeria is in your hands, then I think there is a balance there. But then I think the presidency should supervise and monitor and make sure they frown at everything the governors do that is not in accordance, with the agenda of the president. All right, moving away from there to the Star story on the Daily Trust newspaper. Withdraw tax reform bills. NLC, Kano government tells Tinubu, one rider to that story. Colleges join ASU in warning against suffocating TET fund. Naseni. All right, that's the story. That's the major story, the Star story on this paper this morning. And as it is right now, a lot happening. This tax reform bill, some persons are in support of it, some other persons are not in support. A committee has been set up to look into it. Economists are saying their own, tax experts are saying their own, and of course Nigerians are waiting for what will happen at the end of the day. But all Nigerians are waiting for is when they can actually breathe well. Nigerians need to breathe. Let the poor breathe. When the poor, the average Nigerians, they don't breathe and they can afford what to eat, we can now say, yes, we are on track. Okay, NLC and Kano government telling the president to withdraw the tax reform bills. What do you think about it? You can just go on social media, drop your reactions on our Facebook page, on Twitter. You can do that on YouTube. We are streaming live as it is right now, and of course it is a live program on DSTV and Star Times, as a matter of fact, and Nicomsat. So you can react to the papers, and we will also give you a feedback on our various handles, Global TV NG on Instagram, on Facebook, and of course on YouTube. Now more headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. This one says, autonomy, no plan to hijack local governments from you. Tinubu tells governors, what we're doing is not to hijack the local government from you, because some governors are frustrating the local government autonomy, even though the court have already said, well, the local government autonomy has come to stay, and the presidency have said, well, nothing for caretaker chairman. Everyone must be duly elected. When you are duly elected into the office, then you will enjoy the local government autonomy. But this morning, the presidency is telling the governors, don't frustrate this effort. It is not in a bid to hijack the local government from you, because a lot happening at the state level that a lot of people don't know, between caretaker chairmen and the governors who put them there. As seen from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, let's quickly look at these headlines. This one says, MPC register over 10 million children in 3 months. 2025 budget, federal government to spend 60 billion naira on pupils feeding. Remember the school feeding program? It really helped. Let me tell you, in case you don't know, a lot of Nigerians benefited from it before it was stopped. And why was it stopped? Because a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of manipulations, a lot of things happened, and it was stopped. Now it's returning back again, and so much will be put into it. I think what should be done this time is proper supervision for proper accountability. When there is proper supervision, there will be proper accountability. And when there is proper accountability, we can now assess the progress, the success of this program, how it is faring, how it has contributed to economic growth, to social growth, to development at the various levels. I think this is a good one. So what we should do is to make sure all hands are on deck. It provided employment for people back then when it was operational, and we saw a lot of children, a lot of pupils going back to school, especially in the north. And there was a research that was carried out, and it was being said that as soon as the feeding program stopped, the number of out of school children increased, because so many of them dropped out of school. You know, if this can encourage and maybe increase the level of education in Nigeria, why not? It should be brought back. I think that's a good move, but then there must be supervision, and someone must be held accountable for everything that is being done at that level, because there were a lot of manipulations where some person said, if you tested the food, okay, that these children, the pupils were given, you won't like it, and so much was voted for it. So why all of that? Just because there is no proper supervision. So if it's coming back again, then there should be a proper supervision. 10 dead, 30 injured as terrorists hit crowd in the United States. That's on the foreign scene. That's on a sad note. Then that's the size of the headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Very soon we'll be joined with the AM news at the top of the hour. But before then, let's look at the Nation's newspaper this morning and see what we have on the Nation's newspaper. On the Nation's newspaper, Nigeria stock market makes global chart with a 37.65% return. This one says Nigeria has requested for Simon Ekpa's extradition, says CDS. Details on page 4. DHQ, that is Defense Headquarters, declared bandit leader Bello Tuji a dead man walking. Details you can get on page 4 of the Nation's newspaper. Now to the star story on the Nation's newspaper. My 2025 goals by Tinubu. My 2025 goals. Some people think it is just Nigerians alone that write down their goals. Even the president. And that's to tell you that planning for 2025 have started already. President Tinubu is saying, my 2025 goals, all right, by Tinubu. And let's just look at the rider to that story. President challenges governors, council bosses to join hands with federal government on agriculture and tax reform. All right, then let's just see some things are very, very important and mustn't be joked with. If the president is coming up to say, well, he's challenging governors and council bosses to join hands with the federal government. Nation building is a collective effort. Nation building is a collective effort. That's why when I hear people blame the presidency, the president, anything, whatever happens, people will say, this president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whereas everyone have a role to play. We're talking about dealing with corruption the other day, and someone made a statement, very vital statement, that corruption has eaten so deeply into the fabrics of the society such that a very young person, a child, would want to maneuver their way into achieving a particular thing, probably by allowing something exchange hands, no matter what it is. That is part of the corruption. And everyone believe when it's time for them, when it's an opportunity, okay, to divert funds or do things that are not good enough for nation building, they go ahead to do it. Because some persons believe it's their turn, it's their time, okay, and they call it a national cake, and people get away with it all the time. Irrespective of where you are, you can decide not to be corrupt, all right, and do whatever you are doing in that your little office, that little place where you are, that little position that you have. You can decide to be different, and that's part of the reason. I want to say nation building, like the president have identified that is part of the challenge now is that governors and council bosses will need to join hands with the federal government so that they can transform the country via agriculture and the tax reform. More headlines still coming from the Nation's newspaper this morning. How Nigeria others ushered in New Year Day. A rider to that story, 4 countries that don't celebrate New Year. You can find that out on the Nation's newspaper. And of course, this is the much will be taken from the Nation's newspaper this morning. Our time is up, but on the Vanguard newspaper, the headline, the major story there said, economy hardship deals huge blow to physical and mental awareness. That's not a story to talk about, because this is something that a lot of people know. Mental health and physical challenges as a result of the hardship a lot of people went through. In 2025, God will crush Rivers' enemies. That is Governor Fubara talking right there. What a prayer. Senate to vigorously scrutinize appropriation, tax reform bill and others. That's coming from the leaders. Budgets 2025. Federal government has adequately provided for debt servicing. That is DMO. This one says Akano governor rejects tax reform bills. Details on page 12 of the Vanguard newspaper. I have no disagreement with governors on local government autonomy. That is coming from President Tinubu. And just one rider to that story, and the rider says, insists governors are critical links to Nigeria's development and prosperity. So much from the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Tinubu's New Year message divides Nigeria. Details on page 5. Pope seeks debt forgiveness for poor nations. That's so important. Then from the world of sport, what to look out for in Africa sport in 2025. You can check that out on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And that's the size of the dailies this morning. But the Guardian newspaper has this big story which says PDP Obi Atiku set agenda for Tinubu better Nigeria in 2025. Then this one says only a united opposition can dislodge APC, says Labour Party. A whole lot happening. We'll get to look at all of this much later. Tax bill, North Central Council backs Bauchi governor, urges Tinubu to address concern. Okay, then this one says police nab 230 robbery kidnap suspects, secure 128 conviction from 288 cases. And finally from the Guardian newspaper, before I call it a wrap this morning, this one says let's jettison our differences to rebuild Nigeria. Remi Tinubu is appealing. That's the wife of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. These are the headlines for the day. If any of these stories interest you, just get to the vendors, pick a copy of the national dailies and go through the details for yourself. It's good to stay informed because it's necessary for you to know what's happening around the globe. Stay on the channel. This is Global Morning on Global Television. We'll return after this break and we want to bring to you the AM news at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock, after which we will resume for the first conversation for the day. Thanks for staying with us. We will be back after this break.
Welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Global AN News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anthony Momodu. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nikonsat. President Bola Tinubu says the federal government hopes to bring down the price of food and promote local manufacturing of essential drugs and other medical supplies through the establishment of a national credit guarantee company in the new year. Tinubu, who disclosed this in his New Year nationwide broadcast, also urged states to key into the federal government's compressed national gas initiative to reduce the cost of transportation for citizens. The president equally stated that the youth confab he promised in the aftermath of the #EndBadGovernance protest across the country would begin in the first quarter of 2025 as a testament of his government's commitment to youth inclusiveness and investment as nation builders. In another development, President Bola Tinubu has ordered the reintroduction of history as a subject into the basic education curriculum. Minister of Education Tunji Alausa confirmed the directive by the President to restore the teaching of history in primary and secondary schools nationwide on a television program. The development followed the formal reintroduction of the subject after its removal 13 years ago during the administration of late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua due to claims that the subject was avoided by students as there was a lack of job opportunities for history graduates. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu says his administration will unveil the National Values Charter already approved by the Federal Executive Council in the first quarter of 2025. The President said this in his New Year message to Nigerians, noting that he will launch an ambitious national orientation campaign that fosters patriotism and love for the country and inspires citizens to rally together. According to him, the Charter will promote mutual commitment between the government and citizens and foster trust and collaboration among diverse population and between the government and the citizens. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma has assured the people of accelerated development in all parts of the state this year. He said with the planned industrialization of the state and the level of infrastructural development already achieved by his administration, Imo will experience an economic boom this year. In his New Year message to the people, the governor, however, asked them to support the administration and rededicate themselves to the service of the state. Kano State government has expressed deep opposition to the proposed tax reform bills before the National Assembly. Governor Abba Yusuf, represented by his deputy Aminu Gwazo, said the tax reform bill is not the solution to the country's economic challenges, noting that Kano State stands firmly against any policy that negatively affects the welfare of the people. He lauded the resilience of Kano residents amidst economic challenges, describing the proposed tax hike as ill-timed, lopsided, and inimical to the unity of the country. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has insisted on the withdrawal of the tax reform bills forwarded by President Bola Tinubu to the National Assembly for passage to enable all key national stakeholders to be part of the process. The bills had drawn sharp criticism from some parts of the country, especially the country's north, which saw them as anti-growth in the region. In its New Year message to Nigerians, especially workers, President of the NLC, Joe Ajaero, equally said organized labor would step up its battle for an upward wage review for workers to mitigate the high cost of living. Ajaero also called on the federal government to prioritize social dialogue in 2025. As Nigerians celebrate the dawn of 2025, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, has urged citizens to actively partner with the Nigerian police force to create a more secure and peaceful nation. Egbetokun, in a New Year statement via X by the Forces Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi, reflected on the resilience of Nigerians in the face of last year's challenges and reaffirmed his commitment to a more people-centric approach to policing, positioning Nigerians as vital partners in the fight against insecurity. Egbetokun emphasized the need for vigilance and communication, hence he called for collaboration and urged Nigerians to report suspicious activities and maintain open communication channels with law enforcement agencies. The National Security Advisor, NSA, Nuhu Ribadu, has assured Nigerians of enhanced security in 2025. Ribadu gave the assurance in his New Year message in Abuja. A statement by the National Coordinator of the Counterterrorism Center, Office of the National Security Advisor, Major General Adamu Laka, says the NSA acknowledged the resilience of Nigerians in the face of security challenges, emphasizing the critical role of collective effort in ensuring peace and stability. Ribadu attributed the success achieved in 2024 to the exceptional leadership of President Bola Tinubu, whose political will, he noted, had sustained security efforts across the nation, noting, however, that the collective vigilance and cooperation of Nigerians had been instrumental in the fight against terrorism, violent extremism, and other threats. Operatives of the Federal Capital Territory Police Command has recovered over 400 million naira from criminals during various operations in 2024. This is according to the command's scorecard made available to newsmen by the command's spokesperson, Josephine Ade. The scorecard indicates that fraud cases were the most reported, with 385 cases and 422 suspects arrested, followed by armed robbery with 268 cases and 132 suspects arrested. The First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has welcomed Abuja's first baby of the year 2025 at the Asokoro District Hospital. Reports gathered say Favor Stephen Ojon, a baby girl, was born to the family of Mr. and Mrs. Ojon Oyimbo. The First Lady also received other babies born at the hospital, including the first baby boy of the year 2025, Zimchika Sim Ejiofor, born to the family of Mr. and Mrs. Ejiofor Wori. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has disclosed his administration's plan to boost the state's economy by encouraging entrepreneurs in the Adire fabric industry. Governor Adeleke stated this during a media conference of the Adire Osun exhibition and festival, marked alongside the official unveiling of the festival logo in Osogbo, the state capital. Adeleke, who unveiled the logo, described the exhibition of various Adire styles, colors, and sizes as an essential phase of Osun's agenda for the state's creative economy. Elsewhere in the news, Chief of Defense Staff Christopher Musa has said that the federal government has submitted most of the requirements for the extradition of Samuel Ekpa to Nigeria. Ekpa, a pro-Biafra agitator and a secessionist, was arrested by Finland law enforcement on November 21st and was sent to Finland-based prison for spreading terrorist propaganda on social media. Musa stated this on a TV program during an end of the 2-year review, saying legal action is ongoing or is going to be taken accordingly, and stressed that the federal government has forwarded most of the requirements to the Finnish government. The federal government says it will never take any action to undermine the sovereignty of the neighboring Niger Republic, contrary to the allegations leveled by the Niger military junta that Nigeria, in collaboration with France and some countries of the West Africa, wants to destabilize Niger using terrorism. This is contained in a statement issued in Abuja by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga. The statement says the minister noted that the Nigerian government reaffirms its unwavering commitment to peace, stability, and regional harmony in West Africa, and he is concerned about recent statement from President of the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland of Niger, Abdurrahman Achiani. You're watching live broadcast of Global AM News coming to you from Global Television from the nation's capital, Abuja. When Global AM News returns, President Tinubu expresses a resolve to deepen credit access for Nigerians in view of New Year message. We shall bring you details of that story as well as business and sports news right after the break. Please stay with us. Welcome back from the break. President Bola Tinubu, in his bid to boost national economic output, has vowed to deepen credit access for citizens and critical sectors of the economy. This was contained in his New Year message to Nigerians. He stressed that to achieve the feat, the federal government will establish the National Credit Guarantee Company to expand risk-sharing instruments for financial institutions and enterprises. According to him, the company is expected to start operations before the end of the second quarter. In business, the federal government, through its finance ministry, has inaugurated the 250 billion naira Ministry of Finance Incorporated Real Estate Investment Fund aimed at bridging Nigeria's housing finance gap, fostering affordable home, and stimulating economic growth. According to a statement by the Director of Information and Public Relations at the Federal Ministry, Mohammed Manga, the initiative was announced at a signing ceremony presided over by Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, at the Ministry's office in Abuja. Speaking at the event, Edu highlighted the fund's potential to address the challenges of housing affordability and accessibility in Nigeria. On agriculture, state governments have been urged to partner with the federal government on technology-driven initiative aimed at improving the accuracy of farm production estimates in the response to growing demand for timely and precise agricultural data. This call comes amid the need for better policy formulation, supply chain management, and food security measures. Chief of Staff OCP Africa, Caleb Oso, noted that accurate farm production estimates are vital for government decisions on food distribution, import and export policies, and price stabilization. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has released the Upstream Petroleum Decarbonization Template, which will become a requirement for issuing licenses and permits effective January 2025. The move is disclosed in a statement signed by the Commission Chief Executive Benga Kobo in Abuja, and is targeted at ensuring compliance with Nigeria's broader climate objective, including its commitment to net zero by 2060. The NUPRC boss said the decarbonization template is aligned with the provisions contained in Section 6 of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 and other provisions mandating the Commission to promote sustainability measures. And moving to the foreign scene, Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara says French troops will withdraw from the West African nation in January. Ouattara in an end-of-a-year speech, said the country can be proud of its army, whose modernization is now effective. This makes Ivory Coast the latest country to weaken military ties with the former colonial power. Pope Francis has advocated debt forgiveness for poor countries to enable the internationally indebted nations to come out of the woods and to develop. He made a call in his 2025 World Day of Peace message, annually marked on January 1st, to encourage peace in the world. The theme of the global event for 2025 is "Forgive us our trespasses, grant your peace." The Pope's message was reportedly read by the Catholic Archbishop of Lagos, Most Reverend Alfred Martins, during a mass to commemorate the day. Smokers in Milan, Italy's financial and fashion capital, risk fines for lighting up on any city street or in crowded public areas following enforcement of the country's toughest smoking ban, which came into effect on Wednesday. Those who defy the new prohibition in the polluted northern Italian city face fines ranging from 40 to 240 euros, a punishment that has divided opinions among residents. Local officials said the measure aims to reduce airborne particles and improve their quality while protecting citizens' health, including shielding children from passive smoking in public places. City authority says at least 10 people were killed and 30 injured when a vehicle plowed into a crowd in the popular tourist district in the city of New Orleans. New Orleans Emergency Preparedness Program said in a statement that the 8th district is working a mass casualty incident involving a vehicle that drove into large crowds on Canal and Bourbon Street. There are 30 injured patients and 10 fatalities. And moving to Russia, Russian gas has stopped flowing to European Union states via Ukraine after a 5-year deal expired, marking the end of a decades-long arrangement. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said earlier that his country would allow Russia to earn additional billions on its board and had given the EU a year to prepare. The European Commission said the continent's gas system was resilient and flexible and that it could cope with the change. The Presidential Estonia office has disclosed that former Estonian President Arnold Rüütel, seen as one of the fathers of the country's return to independence in 1991, has died at the age of 96. Rüütel was a Communist Party official at the end of the 1980s, just as the Soviet Union was beginning to unravel before becoming a protagonist in the Baltic countries' effort to win back its sovereignty after a half-century of rule from Moscow. As a president of Estonia from 2001 to 2006, Rüütel contributed to its joining the European Union and NATO in 2004. Let's slide into the world of sports. Two-time world heavyweight boxing champion Anthony Joshua has presented his autographed glove to President Bola Tinubu. This was during a visit to the president at his residence in Lagos. Joshua has earlier visited the governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, who bestowed him with the Yoruba name Omobo Wale, meaning the child who has come home. Liverpool have rejected an approach from Real Madrid to sign fullback Trent Alexander-Arnold in a January transfer window. The England international is out of contract at Anfield in June, and sources saying he is Madrid's top defensive target following a long-term injury to right back Dani Cavara. The Spanish giants were earlier told to prefer to wait until next summer to sign Alexander Arnold on a free transfer, but they approached Liverpool about a potential move next month, and according to reports, the advances were quickly rebuffed by the Premier League leaders, and no official bid has been made since. Super Eagles forward Samuel Chukwueze is expected to miss not less than 8 crucial matches after he went out injured in Serie A match against Roma. Chukwueze was left out of Milan travelling contingent for the Super Coppa Italia in Saudi Arabia, but following a magnetic resonance imaging MRI scan, it has now been revealed that Chukwueze would miss the whole of January. Meanwhile, reports say the MRI scan carried out as revealed a listen end of the left femoral biceps. Alright, that's how we currently wrap on the Global AM News. I am Anthony Momodu. Good morning.
Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
Come back, it is still Global Morning on Global Television this beautiful day. I said in return, it's going to be time for us to talk. The conversation will be happening live and direct from here. We're looking at something very important. You know, one of the problems that we have with politics in Nigeria is godfatherism. I can't do anything because someone else is behind whatever happens, and sometimes you begin to wonder, how does all these things play out? Where did it started from? Then people don't tell us what happens behind. They only come to tell us what they feel we can hear, what they think we should hear and know. But the other things that happens from behind, they don't tell us anymore. We're talking about godfatherism today, political influences, the impact of godfatherism on national development. A lot of people can't work today. There is this belief that if you don't have a godfather, there is no need vying for a political position at all. Some persons feel you can only get it on a platter of gold, whether you are qualified or not, but have a godfather. Then the godfathers believe that if not until they endorse you, whatever you do politically, you cannot be relevant. Then there is this school of thought. Some Nigerians believe that most of the things that happens to politicians, all right, or the things they do, rather, the things they do, it's not them themselves that do it, but then there are some people who are actually engineering the process. But then you are the one ruling. You are the one who is occupying the position. You are the one the people know. You are the one your constituency know. You are the one your local government council know as the council chairman or caretaker, whatever it is. At the ward level, you are the councillor that they know, even though there is a chairman somewhere or maybe a political godfather somewhere that has made it possible for you to get into that office. Now, helping someone get into an office, a political office, comes with a whole lot. A lot of people get into office today. We know of some states in Nigeria. I saw in one of the papers today where a governor, the Rivers State governor to be specific, was making a prayer concerning people who have interrupted governance in Rivers State. Everyone is aware of what happened in Rivers State, not just in Rivers State. Even in Kogi State, there were a lot of speculations that, well, this governor is coming in, is being put there by the outgoing governor, not just there in Benue State. You hear things like, okay, I don't want to be loyal to you anymore. I want to get out, okay? And someone, I think, Akume had that issue, and when they were talking about the fact that well, some politicians were alleging that they don't want to be under the godfatherism of some politicians anymore, that they want to pull out, and it wasn't easy. They got out, but then it wasn't easy. These are things that play out in the political scene that a lot of people don't know. Then we're talking about development. Who is to be held responsible when the place is not developed? Who should we hold accountable? Remember, we voted for someone, all right? Even though somebody is sponsoring the process. You voted for an individual, just one person. Then, if you're going into the office, what happens to your name? What happens to your integrity? What happens to your next term if you really want to come back again? I've heard of situations where people are being asked to return back to a particular position, maybe because of their previous antecedents, because of what they've done in the past. But some other persons, people don't even want to hear their name at all when it comes to politics because of what they have done. Then you try to go out of the office, maybe when your tenure is over, you want to be moving from one place to the other to justify what you did wrong while you were in office in the name of it wasn't my fault, it was this person's fault, this person was playing the role of a godfather. This is one thing about godfatherism. Godfatherism happens in most states of the federation. In fact, in politics, in Nigerian politics, it happens so much. Just a few persons that got into political offices without a godfather. Why godfather? That's the question. Why do we need the godfather? Why do people need godfathers to get into political offices? There are people that have been contesting for a particular position, we're not even talking about the federal level yet, okay, but at the state level for over how many years, but they couldn't get into that office. Why? Because they don't have a godfather, they don't have anyone to push them up the ladder for them to get into that position. The influence, political influences, what even made these people influential in the first place? Let's go on a quick break. When we return from this break, we'll have our guest join us, Ogunleye Olalekun, a political affairs analyst, will be joining us via Zoom as we discuss the political influences, the impact of godfatherism on national development. And that will be after this break, before the conversation proper. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's still the conversation around godfatherism and our national development in Nigeria. We're talking about godfatherism right now and the harm it has caused in the political scene. We're talking about national development right here. And some Nigerians believe that the major reason for failure, government's failure, is as a result of godfatherism. Then some persons will want to doubt it a little bit. Some persons will be of the school of thought. Some Nigerians will think, why should you even believe in someone to put you into office there if you are qualified? Why not just go to the poll, votes being casted? If you are eligible, then you win the election. But these are things that a lot of people don't even take into consideration because they believe they are godfathers. We just make them have it. Godfather, godmother. We're waiting for when we'll also hear about godmothers too. Nigerian's election in 2019, how godfathers influence politics. This is a statement that came from someone. Someone wrote that. It's on the internet. It said, godfathers in Nigeria's politics don't usually run for office themselves, but many believe they are the ones who decide the election winners and losers. Some persons will tell you, you will lose this election, and if you joke, you lose it. But then, when are we going to stop all of that? Because this is not good for our political scene. This is not a welcome development at all. As a matter of fact, there are so many things that we need to do to put things in perspective as things are going. But then, why should people, okay, not electorates now, why should godfathers decide who win? Then that's where the problem even starts from. If we're talking about free and fair election in Nigeria, then we should also know that election is never free and fair if it is being decided by a particular set of people who feel they are godfathers, that feel they have the power to make someone, okay, a political office holder and make the other person not to be a political office holder. Our time is fast spent. Unfortunately, our guest couldn't join us today on the program, maybe as a result of one technical issue or the other from his own end. I was supposed to be joined by Ogule Olalekan, and he couldn't join us. Time is already fast spent. 9 o'clock we'll get into the second conversation, but then we're looking at godfatherism right here, and a lot of people have said so many things in the past about godfatherism and how it has affected a lot. Someone who is underperforming will shift the blame and said, well, it's not my fault, it is my godfather. But then the godfathers, what do they stand to benefit making you a political office holder? That is where the problem is. That's where the problem is. Some persons pay for as long as they are in that office. That's what it means. A lot of people are being distracted today because of godfatherism, political influences. But then, I think you need to build an influence for yourself, first of all. Okay, build an influence for yourself before you even build influence for other persons. Because as it is, if you have the influence, you don't even need anyone. All right, you don't need anyone. So as it is, let's see what the country holds, because we just want to be sure that things will work out fine as the case may be. But then political office holders, godfatherism is something that a lot of people frown at. Okay, a lot of people frown at it. But some persons believe that you can't do away with it completely, because these persons are there and they will always be there. And if you don't dance to the tune of their music, you will end up being frustrated. And people who want to go into these political offices don't want to be frustrated. And that's where the problem is. So as it is, one thing that we need to do and be sure that we are ready for governance is when we do the right thing. We'll qualify. You start from your constituency where you are known, from the grassroots. The one thing about politics is that you need to grow up the ladder. You don't just jump from somewhere because you feel you have a godfather. Then you just want to start from up. It's not done. You need the experience, and if you start from the grassroots, you must be known. You won't even need a political godfather to get into that position that you are vying for, because you have what it takes, because you have been tested and you are trusted already. That's what it means. And a lot of underdevelopment today at the constituency level, at the local government level, at the council level, and at the ward level. Why? Because some persons are servicing these political godfathers and they can't do anything to develop their constituency, to develop where they are supposed to develop, even though no matter how much you give them as an allocation. Now we're talking about local government autonomy. If the local government autonomy is being implemented in full and this money starts going down to the local government, how is it going to be expended? How is it going to be spent? All right, who is going to give the instruction there? We know the local government chairmen also know that it is their responsibility to put the local government in shape, do what they are supposed to do to contribute to societal development. But as it is, so many things gone wrong. A lot of people doing what they want to do, not minding the repercussion that comes with you not carrying out your responsibility in the name of I am being distracted by a political godfather. Remember that, one, that your godfather may not be there all the time. That your godfather may not succeed putting you in that position all the time. But if you want to stay relevant, as a politician, you need to do away with godfatherism. Depending totally on godfathers is not the best. I don't think it's the best, because to whom much is given, much is expected. You will need to pay. You will need to encourage the politicians who have put you into that office, and that distraction is so much. We remember what happened in the River State. You know how much, all of us know how long it took Fubara before he could settle down. That is, if he has really settled down. Even up till this new year, he's saying, he's doing a prayer, okay, concerning people who are on his neck, or on the neck of the people of River State and all of that. This is what we're talking about. If don't start what you can't finish, that's it. Don't start what you can't finish, because if you give any politician the opportunity to come into your life and say, I am the godfather, sometimes they don't even have what it takes to make you the king that you are aspiring for, to give you the position you are aspiring for. But because you feel they're being in politics, and of course they know one or two persons, what about the vote? You should be concerned. If you are Nigerians, if politicians, if public office holders, if people who are vying for political positions know that they can actually get there without bribing their way in, without a godfather, because they are qualified, they can actually get it, because the people know exactly what they want. You don't need to buy vote, you don't need to manipulate the people, you don't need to conscientize the people, because the people have already seen your handiwork. They know what you can do, they know how good you are, and they will give you the opportunity to be their leader instead of manipulating things. And of course, we should also know that godfatherism, okay, godfather, we're not saying it's not good to have people you look up to, all right, but the issue of, if you get into this office, I'm going to be getting 45% of the allocation, I'm going to be getting 50%, I'm going to be getting 70%. Those percentages are what Nigerians are really frowning at. It's not a bad thing if you are an elder statesman, a politician that make other political office holders, and at the end of the day, you are just there. They bring to you what they are led, what they want to bring to you, what they feel is due to you, not you negotiating a percentage. And because these people are very desperate, if you tell them I will be taking 40%, I'll be taking 70, 60%, they won't even hesitate, because what's on their mind is how to get into this political office. So there are things we need to look at critically before we make anyone our godfather. Then, what do you think can be done to get rid of godfatherism in Nigeria? Godfatherism, it's not just at the grassroots, it's not just at the state level, it's not just at the House of Rep, but then it is almost from the top. All right, because you hear something like, I supported you, you need to support me too. You can hear people say things like, oh, okay, it is now my turn, it is now our turn as a region, as a people, so you need to support us because we supported you. In that bid, the elder statesmen from that axis will want to play a role, and somebody there may want to play the role of a godfather, and at the end of the day, you see some promises, some agreements being entered that will not lead to societal developments like we are trying to do today. Well, our time is up. It's the first conversation. It's about the issue of godfatherism in Nigeria. It's one thing that a lot of people cannot really talk about politics without talking about. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return, and it will be time for our second conversation. Stay with us. Beautiful day. It's still Global Morning, and of course the second conversation is on right now. We just finished talking about godfatherism and the role it plays and its impact on development. Now let's look at governance. 2024, I think I'm already bid farewell to 2024, but then the impact and the history, some of the things that happened in 2024, you can't just take it away like that, because there are some things you need to look at to even make your plannings, all right, for 2025. And I want to look at some very, very salient issues today. 2025 outlook, as a matter of fact, politics and governance in perspective. This is 2025, a lot of expectation. The president has been speaking. In the papers today, the president said, well, state governors should know that the key to the development of Nigeria is in their hands. And the governors on their own parts came to say, well, so many things, the dividend of democracy, of governance will be felt in 2025. If you remember from the media chat of the president, so many promises. You know, the president will always tell you there is hope. Some economists have actually said, well, as it is, we are not totally out of track, but we are not on track yet. Certain things need to be done. Different perspective, people mirroring the economy from different angles. And today we want to look at 2025. Okay, 2024 just came and gone, and I have my guest joining me in the studio. Is an economist and a development expert. Is Dr. Aliu Ilyas. It's good to have you in the studio this morning.
Thank you for having me, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're just saying for the first time this year.
Yes.
Well, I think it's good that 2025 is here. We really long for it. A lot of people who are longing for 2025, because some persons believe that the name 2024, some persons don't even want to identify with it at all. Now we are into 2025. From the way things are, it's not going to be a magic, but then is there some prospects in 2025, as a matter of fact, looking at 2024?
Right, I think in Nigeria we are good at having hope, so we keep hope alive. And you recall President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came with a renewed hope agenda. So we are keeping to that. However, it's quite a challenging year for Nigeria 2024. We've got to see what we have never seen before. We've got to manage ourselves beyond how we used to manage ourselves. We have been exposed to managing ourselves the more. However, it's quite challenging when we talk about economy, politics, and governance. Let's start from economy. It was very challenging economic situation. You recall that during that period we have increment in the price of PMS, which was very, very challenging. You also recall that during that period we also have a forex problem. And you also recall that during that same period, we have inflation. Every macroeconomic indices were negative. However, we also have good news during that period, which is coming up of a refinery. In fact, there was a New Year gift of refinery. But it's not producing PMS, it's only geo and kerosene. However, it shows that for the first quarter, which we are in already in 2025, I don't expect much for the economy, but second quarter we are thinking with the incoming of Dangote in 2024, with the working of the refinery, maybe we'll have a best and a good forex, that because transportation of PMS commodities are actually got about 40% of our forex, but now I don't think we are going to embark on that, even though I'm of the opinion that we should still continue to import fuel in 2025, we are told maybe 10%, 15%, so that we can really have that competition. Then in terms of political intrigues, well, it's a fallout of 2023, so President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is getting to stabilize is this. But the major one was I think Okwebolo actually came to become the governor. So a lot of things actually happen politically, but when the economy is not stable, Nigerians may look away from the policy. Then in terms of governance, we've seen a lot of things, especially with what happens with the tax reform. Tax reform bring about political issues a lot, because you can see some people say no, especially in particular just say no, you can't just come and bring about this. And I agree with them to an extent, because people are looking at the tax reform policy itself. They may not be fighting tax reform policy. They may be trying to tell the president that no, Mr. President, you still have the say. You can't do everything hook, line, and sinker, because I recall that he removed solely the subsidy. He also bring about a flotation of naira. Then tax reform, they say you should come and consult us. And I think it's also buying time to actually achieve that. So for 2025, it's going to be interesting, because late 2025 we're expecting plan for election, because that's another thing. But we expect the government to not to allow that to affect governance, at least for this year. Next year it will be what we cannot even tell him not to, because it's the first time, so you want to go to the second time. But for economy, I think our president needs to do more. We need to tell him the fact that Nigeria are really feeling bad. And in his media chat I referred to, I was surprised when he made mention that a friend of him was using Rolls Royce before, and now he's using Honda. I tried to just oppose that to a poor man who eats 3 square meal. Are you now saying don't eat 3 square meal again? 1 square meal is enough. That's most people's interpretation.
All right. Well, I think that analogy got me there. That analogy got me there. Well, as it is right now, looking at the budget that was presented, so many people are expecting so much. Some persons are saying, well, there are some missing links. There are some provisions that are not there. And some persons are saying, in one of the papers this morning, it was talking about the fact that debt servicing, anything debt is going to become a thing that Nigerians will not have to worry about. Too much is being taken care of based on the budget. But some persons are still not satisfied with the budget. I remember what the president said when he was presenting the budget at the National Assembly, that every one of them stand elected, and people were like, oh, that statement, there is more to it, meaning people the presidency is focused on politicking instead of governance, as a matter of fact, because Nigerians can actually read meaning to so many things. But then generally, let's look at the budget, the budget that was presented at the National Assembly. Do you notice missing links, or you feel, well, at the end of the day, because they said we're shifting it to everything to January, it's not something we can finish on time? Do you see that as maybe a way to do one or two maneuvering, or to do a balance, or sort of?
Right. First and foremost, I think that budget falls short of my own expectation. One, why do we have to kill January to December calendar for anything? What could be the reason? Perhaps it could be maybe government expect tax reform to have passed, so they will now fix in the budget. So I think it's a very negative thing. Government Buhari was able to keep that calendar very, very well, restore it and kept it for over time. But now that have been shifted to January. That simply means there are some expenditure that will be shifted. So because we're supposed to hit the ground running, so now we have to shift budget, and that's why they quickly look for another loan to complete the 2024 budget. So for me, I think that shifting should not happen again. Then number two, I don't expect more from this budget, because the amount is too small for the Nigerian budget. I will tell you why. Last year, budget was around, in dollar, right? Let me go to in dollar. In dollar, this year budget is smaller compared to last year budget. That simply means what this year budget will do will be less compared to what last year budget will actually do, which is not a good one. Then for me, I'm a proponent of doing a big budget, and I'll tell you why. If you go to South Africa, go to Egypt, or even go to Brazil, you see that we are not even doing half of their budget. I expected that to be doing 100 trillion naira budget, because that's how we can solve the Nigerian problem. I can tell you, if you look at this budget, 16 trillion, 15 trillion is going for debt servicing. and about 16 is going for social infrastructure, which is capital expenditure. And recurrent expenditure is there. Recurrent doesn't benefit me anymore. It is the capital expenditure. So now they are telling us that for social infrastructure, you have only that about 15 trillion for it, which covers maybe health, education, road, social amenities. So that simply means we are getting very, very little. So let me give you a good example. It is said that our housing deficit need 6 trillion to solve the problem. So do you think we can even mark 1 trillion for housing in this case? Even our agriculture that is suffering, I don't think we have up to 1 trillion for the whole agricultural sector, which is a serious problem. So for me, we are doing a small budget and cannot solve our problem. So imagine if we now say, okay, this year our deficit, let's solve deficit in housing. Let's go for 6 trillion to solve that problem. This year we are solving road infrastructure that need about 32 trillion. Let's even look at 10 trillion for it. That could solve the problem. So for me, in the long run, I want Nigeria to get to borrow. If you want to borrow, please borrow big. Don't borrow money that it's small to solve our problems. That's my view.
All right, I'll just get something very big that the impact can be obvious.
Yes.
All right, let's get to governance now. In 2024, so many things happened as it has to do with governance, and one of the things that Nigerians are actually looking forward to in 2025 is how they can actually go to the market and be able to get what they can actually eat. But now, let's look at it from the area of supervision of projects in Nigeria, because some people feel like the budget for school feeding program it's returning, and we know what happened in the previous administration, what really happened with that, all of that with the school feeding program. That's just one aspect of it. We're talking about things that will affect Nigerians. I think a bank, the loan that was taken in 2024 was in trillions. Okay, what the banks, about 8 banks got was in trillions. It was on the papers this morning. And that's to tell you of what Nigerians are going through. What do you think can be done differently, okay, in 2025 to make Nigerians at least not 100%, we can't say, just like you said, the first quarter we may not be expecting so much. But then do you think there are some things that could be done to ameliorate to an extent what Nigerians are going through, so that at least they can just be a breath of relief, just a little bit? Let's know that we're out of 2025.
Well, first and foremost, I think we have process problem. You made mention of the school feeding program. Any program that involves passing money through people's hands is a problem. So, but when you have process that the money goes to the bank directly, from the bank it goes to where they buy the items, I think it makes more sense. Now, in 2025, I also tell people that please don't buy what you want, buy what you need, because it's still there that we may think the purchasing power will increase. There is no sign that your purchasing power will increase for now, because fuel commodity is still very, very expensive. Transportation is still very, very expensive. And I was thinking by then 2025 would have a SUCO. And how do I mean? You recall President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said he's giving out 10 billion to each state to get a bus, a CNG bus. That you have not heard much about it. Now, that means our transportation is going to continue to be as it were. Because if there's anything that is taking money from Nigerian pocket, is food and transportation. Then President Bola Ahmed Tinubu tell us that by now we'll have a CNG covering everywhere. I can tell you I use a CNG car, a converted car, but I can tell you I struggle to buy CNG. I have to trade off 2 to 3 hours to get CNG. And when you get it, they say there is no pressure. And I can tell you, even the NNPCL is the major problem. If you go to their stations, they are not taking the CNG business serious at all. Then if you go to the other one, I think the NIPCO that started it, they are actually doing well. Why is it that NIPCO will be supplying NNPC? It's a contradiction that we should not see. Then the next thing is the issue of food. I think if food is on our table, I think our problem is half solved. But as it is now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on July 2023 promised that he declared state of emergency on food security. And up till now, we have not seen a difference. In fact, food inflation is the highest and is about 41%. So that means he only say it, there is no any particular work. And I can go back to Buhari and Koborowa and Buhari's solutions to agriculture. I can tell you, we can't compare it to now. Because it's clearly, even now, we can see the flow of even rice. Most of us still eat local rice as it were. It's because of his own effort. We can also see his effort in railway. So I want this president also to look at how do I solve people's problems, especially food-related issues. Because food supply chain is a major problem. There could be food in Bauchi. But how do you transport that food in Bauchi to Abuja? The cost of transportation is higher than the cost of the food itself. So until we look at it, and if you don't have energy security in a country, that country will be experiencing what we actually experience. And that's why the President Muhammadu Buhari President Bola Ahmed Tinubu handler need to do more to make sure that they get to tell him, because from his media chat I discovered that he actually knows what is actually going on. He's in charge. So that's the president that we said is not in charge, but this one is actually in charge. So if there is suffering, I think the suffering is directly from the Mr. President. So we are calling on him to try to solve it, especially food and transportation.
All right, food and transportation, very major. These are major amenities. These are things that Nigerians will need to survive in 2025. Let's go down to the local government autonomy, because most times people talk about the presidency, but then let's get to the grassroots a little bit. Local government autonomy, as far as the judgment from the court is concerned, it has come to stay. If we want to go by the judiciary, all right, if the judiciary is still the judiciary that we used to know, but then the implementation is still lingering to an extent. Okay, now local government autonomy, the governors are there, the chairman. It was outright. You need to do election. You must be duly elected into office as a chairman before you can enjoy all of this. The problem at the grassroots, okay, do you think tackling it has to be from the people at the grassroots? Talking about the president, that statement coming from the president that the key of the nation to develop Nigeria is in the hands of the governors. Then you talk about the local government chairman. Do you think this will solve our problem at the grassroots if the autonomy is fully 100% implemented?
Well, I think once you implement it 100%, like you said, we are going to be in Eldorado. That means Nigeria is going to be better for it. But we see a lot of challenges. The fourth bureaucratic bottleneck was what the president has actually solved through his attorney general of the federation, where he took it to court, and it was clearly spelled out that yes, the autonomy must go back to the governors. Then they still go further and said, if you do not do election for the local authorities, you will definitely not be able to. So you could see the rush at which every governor is trying to actually, and it's gladdening. But the implementation is a problem. I also get to know that the enforcement will start this January, so we are waiting for it. Government must go beyond president must go beyond the rhetorics, though he has even gone beyond rhetorics and put action, but he must drive it down. Because I recall the governor of Anambra, Charles Chukwuma Soludo, who is going to have election this year, his National Assembly passed a bill that said that any money that comes to local government must remit particular amounts to the states. And I was surprised that so the elected National Assembly could actually work on. That means governors will find a way to still make sure that they are still in charge of the fund, until except one thing that we must do. And what is that thing? The election of local governments must be out of governors' hands. Because if it is not out of their hands, they will still use if it's still within their whims and caprices, they will still find a way to get those funds back. You recall Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State. One of his local government chairman, a journalist who become a local government chairman, actually asked some questions concerning funds. They just find a way within a week through the state assembly and remove him as local government chairman. That's how terrible it is. You cannot even say, even the album, they cannot say anything. So I think the onus is still on Mr. President to find a way to inject national influence on the local government areas. Whereby, because imagine if APC is the, as it were now, once APC is the governor, or every local government chairman is APC. If it's ABGA, if it's PDP, that's how it works. But imagine if the governor is PDP and about 5 local government chairman is APC, and that one is what's the name, Labour, and PDP also have. It will make sure that, you know why, those local government chairman will be trying to perform, because they know they perform, people actually like them for what they actually want. But now you don't vote for who you want, it's who the state governors actually want. That thing is still affect the national. But if the national have more of governors in the same political party, they also want to influence the local government. So I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu needs to do more. Though he has been a champion for that. You recall that he was the first person who have local LCDA, they call it in Lagos. They have more local government than what government actually assigned. So that there's a way the money, once the money comes, we divide it across the LCD as it were. I think he needs to do more. You recall he also suffered from President Bola Obasanjo that he didn't pay him for about a year. He didn't give him those some fund. So I think he should do more. He's doing well now, but he should do more. This January he start implementing them. But by the end of the year, we should also see National Assembly coming in and say, no, let us have independent Electoral Commission for local government.
For local government. Yeah, are you sure they will be able to handle it?
It depends on the National Assembly. If National Assembly actually wants to do it, remember the president is going to support them, and that will be very, very fine. It will have relieved Nigerians from the hands of the government. And like President also say, our development still lies on the hand of the governors. A good example, we have FAC allocation. What are they doing with it? I can tell you readily, the governor of Nigeria State, when he collects his own FAC allocation, he quickly go and invest in agriculture. How many of them are investing in a sector that is going to develop their state? Most of them come to FCT cap in hand to collect the FAC allocation.
Well, this is Nigeria for you, and as a matter of fact, let's see how the implementation of the local government autonomy will go at the local government council. But then, we're talking about sanitizing the system. What will be of the local government if there is a full implementation? Let's talk a little bit about international relations. In 2024, we had a lot of travels. You know, the president and his vice, traveled, visited so many countries, attended meetings, conferences, all in a bid to lure investors into the country, even though we have some investors leaving as a result of the challenging economy. Now, the France and Niger Republic, they fall apart, not just Niger Republic and these other ECOWAS countries that left. Let's look at it holistically. In 2025, you feel that should continue, or you feel, well, the one that was done in 2024, we should wait a little bit and see the impact. But then, diplomatic relationship, and it's something you can't take away for every country. And remember, Nigeria is a big nation. And we would want to see these countries come invest. But then, how is the economy of the nation? If you want to talk about countries coming to invest.
All right. Well, for me, I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu traveling every now and then, it's not bad. But that it will translate to a foreign direct investment, I don't see it. I only believe that, well, you can get much more diaspora remittance. People abroad now are enjoying because they have more money when they change it to Nigerian currency. So I think we can have much more diaspora remittance. But in terms of foreign direct investment, I don't think, because where are they coming? Investors look at the climb they are coming. What is obtainable? I can tell you our NPR, our interest rate is about over 27%. Who want to come and invest in that environment? We have insecurity. Who want to come invest in that area? So we must first and foremost make sure they have an enabling environment. Most companies have gone. Let me even go to pharmaceutical companies. I recall GSK have left Nigeria, and since GSK left Nigeria, inhaler was sold. It's been sold at 1,600 when they are run. Really left, it's moved to 10,000.
10,000.
I would not have import substitution. Maybe you could even have another company. Government empower them to actually. And other manufacturing sectors are saying that they have unsold. Why not encourage them to even change perspective and support them? So I don't see it coming. In terms of a diplomatic relationship, I think our relationship, ECOWAS, you recall that immediately President Bola Ahmed Tinubu become president, they made him ECOWAS president, chairman rather. And when they make him that chairman, immediately there was coup at the Niger Republic. It was not well managed. We must continue to say it. Niger, we have long time history and they are our neighbors. So I think we would have managed it better. So on that back, at the back of that, Nigerians believe that President of Nigeria goes to France every time. Perhaps they have relationship that is going to negate all their plan. That's why you could recall that by the dead end of last year, Niger started saying that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a stool or what have you, that is actually supporting France to really finish them. They try to, is it cast as passion, we say now, which is not true though. So, but diplomatically, I think we are trying. Another one we should expect in January now is Trump is going to take up the mantle of leadership in America. What does it have for Nigeria and Africa? That is the question now.
So that's the next question I wanted to ask, because we talked about it. We okay, was it from diplomatic perspective?
Yeah,
before the election. 2 days before That was it is, because if you, even in America, so many things are happening. Even Americans right now, everybody is like trying to stand on their toes to do the right thing, and people who are not Americans, who are just maybe citizenship by maybe nationalization, birth, and all of that. People who are not real, U.S. born citizens who are not. Now, the issue of living in the United States has posed a lot. And remember what happened during Obama. Obama had a different perspective until throughout his period. He never visited Nigeria, even though he came very close. But then, that doesn't stop the Nigerian president from congratulating America if any good thing happens. What are you thinking about Donald Trump? Is it going to be a different ball game altogether? Because already statements, there are handwritings on the wall already. People are speculating a whole lot that it may not be too juicy, all right, for the non-Americans and even Africa, as a matter of fact. Then we talk about Nigeria. What's your thoughts?
There's a news making the rounds that if you are in Nigeria and you are American citizen, or you are Nigerian American citizen, that you should return back home before they will swear in Trump. Because they swear in, he can declare that nobody should come from those places against America. So I think Trump is I like his style to an extent. He said American first. Don't blame whoever said my country first. But he also forgotten that he himself have origin from somewhere. I don't think he's native like that. But I'm sure that people like Obama and Bush, they won't allow him to actually survive, because National Assembly is still there to actually do a lot. But it's going to have effects on Nigeria economy. And I can tell you that. But we have a shock absorber now. So what is the effect? America is a global, has global influence on oil industry, because they have oil, but they are not part of OPEC. They are on their own, and their influence can affect every other thing. So that simply means that they are one of the biggest buyer for Nigeria oil. So they may want to reduce their relationship with us. We have to look at it from trade policy. So it may review trade policy that will affect Nigeria. But if it's for oil, I think Dangote has come as shock absorber. I can tell you Dangote can easily make us not to feel a lot of things. Though oil is a global commodity whereby it can be influenced by forex, it can also be influenced by OPEC decisions. But by and large, I think it's a good one that we have shock absorber. However, Trump decision is going to actually have an impact. Well, it's also have positive externalities. You recall that Trump negates LGBTQ. So it may be a positive one for Nigeria, because anything that is obtained in America usually find its way in our local arena here. So I think that's the positive side of it.
All right, that's the positive side of it. But then talking about the borders, though before now it has not been very easy for Nigerians getting visa, to the United States compared to other countries. Well, those are diplomatic issues. But now, moving away from there, let's come back to Nigeria right now as it is. We're looking at the outlook of 2025. What are we expecting? What do we need to do? But then, when you talk about corruption in Nigeria, we just heard that about the fights in different parts of the country, the insecurity of a thing. What's your assessment of the level of insecurity in 2024, and what should we be expecting in 2025? Remember, we have a new army chief right now. Then there is this new Lokarawa, that is up, and we heard that even on the papers this morning, it's been said that, well, they are not to be taken seriously, that it's going to be wiped out. And remember how Boko Haram was pampered until we got to where we are today. So, security situation in the country, we can't go to farm. So many things can't happen. What's your assessment of the security situation, and what are we expecting in 2025?
Well, I think we must take our security very serious. I must go beyond kinetic to non-kinetic, because what I see virtually every time is for us carrying gun and to go. You could recall that they shot from there's an airstrike.
Airstrike, yes.
That we said it also affects non-terrorists, and that's a serious problem. I also recall we buy Tucano jet. Have not seen it. You see us use it. I don't know the diplomatic reasons. I think you have to explore the diplomatic reason why we are not using that Tucano jet to fight terrorism. But beyond that, I think 2024 we saw an increment in the level of security. We must be sincere, because especially for FCT that I reside, I discovered that since Wike decided to face it head on, you hardly hear even one chance, you hardly hear kidnapping as it used to be before. So I expect other states to also look into that, because according to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, betterment of Nigeria is in the governor's hand. So they must also do more, because you cannot expect the federal to do everything for you. But going to 2025, I believe the good part of the security apparatus, as in their level of improvement, will flow into it, and I think we can even justify it. If you look at the amount we are expending on security, go and check the budget. I think it's the highest so far, and it's year in year. In fact, President Muhammadu Buhari prioritized spending money, but I think after about 10 years now, if you calculate Buhari government and Tinubu, it's almost 10 years now, we should have besides seeing a serious positive result. But I have issue with other security apparatus such as DSS, police, and Nigerian civil defense, because it's as if it's army that is actually in the front every now and
I think they used to have joint task force where you have
yes, but
a handful of.
If there is intelligence from DSS and police, I don't think these people will survive to this extent. So I think we need to do more on our intelligence and technology, because I know DSS can track a lot of things. They should track these people, track their next plan, because if you their next plan, you can bust your bubble at every time. By the time you post bubble of like 3-4 plans, they will know that yes. But
these people are us.
But army will always go and fight them, physically. Why don't we discover, like Lukarawas? They have been in the country for over 4 years. They try to relate with people, telling them they are providing security, you know, we would have checked their trajectory, you know, and stop them before they now become what a menace, not a menace, an evil to the country.
The issue of identifying sponsors of this terrorism, we've heard about that in the past. Nigerians were saying, let it come to a time where it will get to name calling, call names, let's know who these people are. We hear of, okay, let's negotiate, all right, and some persons have actually proposed that there should be negotiation between these people. Do you think that there are people in this country who really know, who are really sponsoring these terrorists, and why are they not being shown to the public? We've not seen anyone being executed, but we hear, even recently, we still heard that there could be negotiation, and we still heard that there are some persons who are sponsoring this terrorism. So why are they not known and prosecuted?
I think our three presidents now are guilty of that. You recall during President Jonathan, Goodluck Jonathan, he said they are Boko Harams in my cabinet. But we expect him to fish them out, then he was unable. You also recall that during President Muhammadu Buhari, Dubai government said they trace some people that are transferring money to Boko Harams. And they told Mr. President failed to bring them to book publicly. Up till now, we still don't know. Is it about 8 of them, they said. You know, for a Dubai government to trace their transfer and what have you, we didn't do anything. So, and for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I don't understand. Somebody who will steal a fowl, he'll be given a death sentence. And somebody would have committed kidnapping, murder, and it's clear, and we say we want to pardon the person. I don't know. There's a serious contradiction until we take the bull by the horn and make sure that anybody who is traced to have committed kidnapping, to have committed murder, to have belongs to any of the terrorist gang should be wiped out. So also in the eastern part of Nigeria, we have unknown gunmen up till now. In fact, I was in a discussion with some of my friends that are from the east. They cannot even access their community. One is telling me that over 3 years he cannot go to his community. Some are saying there's some area that you cannot just pass in southeast, that you fall to the den of kidnappers, you know, or those that they are calling unknown gunmen. And in a country that have law, you know, it's surprising that and that's why I said it's beyond the kinetic approach. We must start with doing our research on knowing that who are these people that are perpetrating this evil and bring them to book. So I think until we stop treating them with kids' glove, they will continue to perpetrate this evil act.
Well, our time is fast spent, but let's see if we can make use of the next 2-3 minutes to talk about the judiciary. Remember, in 2023, after the election, there was a slogan, go to court, you know, and that became a slogan in Nigeria. And the all-cycle elections, so many things happening in Nigeria, the NSAS, end bad governance, you know, the judiciary as an arm of the government have played a vital and pivotal role in 2024, and Nigerians are still wondering if the judiciary is still the judiciary that we used to know, because the Nigerians will come and tell you outrightly that the judicial system has been compromised. You know, I was speaking with a legal practitioner a few days ago, and the person said until the game players in the system are not being appointed by the executive, they wouldn't get it right. What's your own school of thought?
Right, I think judiciary is the hope of the last hope of
the common man.
Of the common man. But I don't know how true that it is now, because we have lawyers who attend to, justice who attend to political cases and even civil and common cases that are supposed to attend. So sometimes we even suffer more because they delay your own. Somebody will have a case in court, take 10 years. But it's political issue within 2 years. It's been resolved. I think that's a bad. But in terms of, for me, I think they have the autonomy. They are not maximizing the or autonomy. Maybe perhaps because the president will also approve or appoint some of the top people in the top echelon of those areas. But by and large, I think you recall that even states have a lot of issues with it, whereby we see state governors buying judiciary, buying chief justice, buying judges different. How do you expect such judges? That's the case they brought about Wiki. Wiki is even good at that. Anywhere he is, make sure you build fine edifice for the judiciary, you give them cars. In as much as I think, for me, I think it's wrong. In as much as they have their autonomy, why not put that in their budgets and let them buy the car by themselves, let them build the house by themselves in their budget? By the time you are giving them something, we think they will compromise. That's the assumption, and it's common. It's a common sense that whoever pays the piper dictates the tune. So for me, I think we need to change a new leaf, 2025, to make sure that our judiciary have their total independence from the executive influence.
Do you think the average Nigerians have any role to play in societal development or national development? Or because what a lot of people feel is, okay, we are Nigerians, the government, if the government doesn't do it, no one else does it. Do the average Nigerians have any role to play in national development at all?
Well, we have, and we are doing it. What I'm doing now is a national role, is a national responsibility, trying to call the attention of government. But the thing is, if you look at this government, I must tell you, it seems hostile to any other ideas that is not coming from them. You recall even Governor, is it Bala Mohammed, when he said the government should, they said he's threatening the president. So as a citizen, if you try to form any protest, you are going to be there. So why people in this government enjoy protests to the extent that they even use it to influence people and become the government of the day, but they're not tolerating. So I think there should be more tolerance. Why Nigeria should continue to speak up. We will continue to speak up for a good governance, because we don't have any other place to go. This is our country, and we must continue to contribute our quotas. All right.
That having been said, it means we need to give it all up for SERAP and other civil society organizations. And thanks to the media too. And
you're actually giving us voice to also say what we want to say.
And it's so good that you people are always, our guests are always up and doing to make sure people are informed. The orientation, the level of orientation that we get on these programs on global television is just on a very high frequency, and that's the reason we are here. Thank you very much, Doctor, for coming around on the program today. Well, today is public holiday. You're supposed to be resting, but I need to pull you out. I don't think Nigerians. I don't even know. I work across board, so the public holiday is over.
So thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Doctor, for coming, and that's going to be the size of the program for this morning. It's been a very wonderful time beginning from 7 a.m. until now. And don't forget that so many other programs are lined up for you on global television. Keep tab on the frequency, and so much will be coming on your way. Thanks for staying with us this morning. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Have a beautiful day ahead of you. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
When you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.